What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Create 0.3, and today we are going to be setting up an iron generator. It's not just any iron generator though, it is one that produces over 700 ingots per hour. So definitely not too shabby when it comes to production rates if you ask me. But this is not the first time we've covered iron generators in this series. If you've been watching for a while, or you saw a couple of the earlier episodes, you would know we have gone over a very basic compact design that's tileable, that can get you started very early on with some decent production rates. I believe it got up to about 120 ingots per hour, which is more than sufficient for most people. But on that video to this date, one of the most frequently asked questions is, why would you set this up over a vanilla iron farm? And honestly, I don't have a good answer for that because it's a great question. Vanilla iron farms are amazing. I will never argue that. They have been optimized to a crazy degree at this point. For the last couple of years, there's new videos coming out every single week on how to make them better, smaller, higher production rates, anything you could imagine. And so it's pretty hard to compete with those, but today in this video, my goal is to have an answer for you guys by maxing out Create in the iron generation as much as I possibly can and seeing just how far we can push this mod in terms of generating infinite resources. So hopefully at the end of this video, you guys will be able to give a verdict in the comments if you think I managed to beat a vanilla iron farm, or at least put up a pretty good fight against it. So I'm hoping I can at least get that much. At least I can match it, but hopefully I can beat it. But I don't actually know what the best iron farm setup is in vanilla. So I don't know what the max production rates are, but the specs for today's setup will be roughly 700 to 750 ingots per hour. And the space required for it is going to be roughly a 7 by 15 by 10. So definitely not a ton of space required for it. So hopefully those will be the two criteria you guys can judge this on: production and size requirements. But this is going to be the room we set it up in. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, honestly. I figured the gray went really well with the iron theme. And it was kind of hard to make a room that actually looked nice only using gray stuff, but I think I managed to do it. So it's got a pretty high ceiling because this is a very large setup, at least vertically, but we should be able to do it on pretty much the right side of this room. And then one last thing to go over is we're not going to be doing the rotational power generation in today's episode, but this setup requires roughly 30,000 stress capacity. So I would recommend you guys go check out a couple episodes ago where I went over a blast furnace, flywheel, and furnace engine generator that does not require consistent input of something burnable. You only need one ore, and all you need is to put in fuel repeatedly. So something like dried kelp blocks like I'm doing will net you 32 RPM and 32,000 stress capacity, which is more than enough to run this entire setup. So super easy to power all of it. I got that right here. I actually really like how it looks, but that's pretty much what you need to be good to go for today's episode in terms of rotational power. And now we can jump into the actual item requirements for today's setup. So I have all the items we need in this chest right here, and honestly, there's not that much that you need. It's a lot of a couple blocks, but there's not much variety actually in this setup. One thing I would say though is, unlike most of my setups where I say that you can alter things as you'd like to either increase or decrease the production, this setup is very finely tuned. Everything is tested so that there is zero downtime, but also zero backup in the system. And so if you were to decrease the amount of drills, you would have a lot of downtime. If you increase them, you would eventually lag out your server or your world because you'd have a bunch of extra entities floating around that you cannot crush down. So I would advise you not to change really anything about this setup other than maybe how you transfer the rotational power. But overall, we are going to need 20 mechanical drills, 20 of some form of staircase, 12 encased fans, 4 chests, 3 andesite funnels, 4 crushing wheels, 2 brass funnels, 15 shafts, a mechanical belt, 5 vertical gearboxes, 24 cogwheels, a basin, a rotation speed controller, 2 large cogwheels, 18 encased chain drives, a mechanical press, a smart chute, 5 regular chutes, and 2 regular gearboxes. Then for the filtering in this setup, you're going to want an iron nugget, just to have it handy, and a piece of flint. Obviously, those are the only 2 outputs we get from processing all this stuff. And then we're going to want some glass. You can use any block, but I think glass is nice because I like to actually see things moving around. And then lastly, we have the water and the lava for the cobblestone generator. Now you do not need more than probably 2 buckets of lava because it doesn't need to all be source blocks, but we have the lava generator, so I figured it looks nicer when they are all source blocks. So we have more than enough lava here. We actually have 10 buckets, which is exactly how many we need to make this entire thing out of source blocks. And then we just have the water, which obviously we can make infinite water from. So we only need 2 buckets of that, and that should pretty much be everything we need for today's setup. Again, I would advise you not to alter any of the numbers of things like the drills or the fans. Otherwise, you're going to run into either downtime or overproduction of stuff and end up with a backup in your system and entities everywhere. But if you choose to do so, that's fine. Just definitely check the speeds that you are running things at to make sure you're not going to totally screw stuff up. So we should be good to grab all of this stuff out of here right now. And I think I'm just going to worry about most of these mechanical components for the time being. I guess we can get out some of the other ones. We're definitely not going to have enough room for all the lava, but then again, we don't really need it. That's something that I can do off camera if it really bothers me. But then we can come over here and start setting this up. So to start out, it might seem a little bit weird, but we're going to actually begin in the middle of this setup where the gravel is going to be collected. And for those of you that might not be familiar, the process for making iron from cobblestone, we can quickly go over it, is going to be you want to get iron ingots, and you're going to make those from iron nuggets, which you will have in the mechanical press. And then you're going to get your iron nuggets from washing a piece of gravel, which is where the flint comes in. You have a 12% chance of a nugget, and you're going to get your gravel by using crushing wheels. You can also use millstones, but basically crushing cobblestone. And then the cobblestone is obviously going to come from mechanical drills on a cobblestone generator. So not too many steps, but we're going to start in the middle where we collect the gravel, and we're going to put this chest right here. So we're going to have the chest as the collection point for gravel. We're not going to end up getting a backup in this chest, but we want to store some of the gravel while the rest of it, which is going to come out here, gets washed. And so we're not going to have a continuous stream. It is going to pause while it gets washed, but we will never end up with a backup in here that eventually fills this up. So might seem a little bit weird, but hopefully you guys will understand in a bit. And the next thing is we're going to put chutes coming in here. So we're going to have one going right in, and I actually have to admit, I don't know exactly where you place these to get them to go diagonally. So let's see, there we go. I think it's in the top half like that. So we want to have them inputting into the chest here, but then have them going diagonally to the left and the right so that we can have crushing wheels inputting into both sides of these and have them deposit in here. This is nicer than a hopper because the chute is instant with stacks of items, so you don't need to worry about transfer time if you have some serious throughput going on in your system. So now that we have these, we're going to want to get out our crushing wheels and probably some scaffolding so we can move around up here. But let's see. I think we want to come up here, and to make our lives a little bit easier, we can think of this. You know what? We're not going to waste glass actually because I have silk touch, but we're going to put some glass down right there, and we're going to use this to orient our crushing wheels. So we want to put down one, oh, not like that. We want to put down one on the left and one on the right side. So one there and one there so that it goes right through and then into this chute. And then this is going to end up, oh yeah, we can grab it back, cool. So we can do that, and then over here, we can do the same thing, except we can orient these properly. If I can flip it, there we go. And right like that, and then we have to flip it again. And there we go. Okay, so now we have both crushing wheel setups. These are both going to be run at 256 RPM, so the maximum speed possible. Obviously, we need to make sure that they are rotating inwards, so this one's gonna have to go counterclockwise, this one clockwise. Same for these so that they actually work, and they need to run at the same speed, both of them, otherwise they're not going to function. But once we have these, we're just going to connect them in the middle with a shaft on each side, and these will drop the items down, and then those will go into that chest. So that's how we get the gravel. The next thing we want to do is put down a chute on top of each of these. So I think it might try to place it in the middle there, but I wanted it to actually be up one, so I might try to avoid that by using a piece of glass really quickly. Does it actually treat these crushing wheels as blocks? Okay, it does, cool. So don't need to worry about that. So we'll put down chutes going down into each of these. And then finally, we're going to put down chests on top of those chutes. Now, I will say these chests are not mandatory. I think they look a lot nicer. And if you ever run into an issue where you do end up getting a sort of a backup in your system, these will help. But these are in no way mandatory. They look a lot nicer, but you can just eventually, as you'll see, blow the cobblestone down right over the chutes instead of having them go into these chests using what we're about to put on, which would be andesite funnels. So ideally, right here, we slap on a funnel, we make sure the arrow is pointing into the chest, and then we do the same thing over here. But again, you do not need it to be like that. You can, in fact, just have it so that it gets blown right over the chute. And much like a hopper, it'll go right in there, drop down into the crushing wheels, and that's fine. So this is where we should be at this point. We obviously now need to make the cobblestone generator, though, because that is what's going to get all the cobblestone that gets blown into these chests to be crushed, to be brought down here, and then finally get washed. So now to make the cobblestone generator portion of this, it's very simple to do, and we are going to make sure that the cobblestone going into each of these chests is the perfect amount to be processed by these crushing wheels, where again, there's no downtime in them. They are at maximum production, but there's also no backlog that forms. So again, that you do not have too many entities in your server or in your world and end up lagging yourself out. Because if you're letting this run 24/7, if you even get, an extra 1 cobblestone a minute, eventually that's going to build up and cause an issue. So we're going to grab out our glass and we are going to build off of these chutes right here. And we're going to come out 1 on each side, and then we're going to come out another 10. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Just make sure I did the right number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there we go. And above these last 10, we are going to have our drill setups. So we should probably get up there right now. Should make our way up. And the way we need to think about this is right here where we're standing right now is where the cobblestone is going to land and get blown. But we do not want the cobblestone forming on this block because that's going to interrupt the cobblestone being blown into these funnels right here. So we actually want the cobblestone to form 1 block up, which means right here in the middle, we're going to want to come up 1. And on top of this glass right here is actually where the lava is going to go. So we want to make sure that this whole thing is kind of encased right here. And we're going to do the same thing on this side right over here too. Just make sure the whole thing is encased in glass on each of these sides so that we can have a nice stream of cobblestone running down here, getting blown by an encased fan, which will eventually be on the far end there for each of these. And it's actually looking like I might need a little bit more glass for this. I did not think through actually how much it would require. Usually 1 stack is more than enough for all these setups we do, but I guess this one, since it's got a lot of it in there, is going to require a little bit more. But now that we have this, the lava is going to go right here in the center. And then it's going to come over and it needs to come in contact with water. We don't want the water itself, though, to be moving. So we're going to put down stairs, and I'm using andesite just so it matches the room. But we're going to put down stairs all the way along here for the last 10 blocks. And these are all going to eventually be waterlogged stairs so that it makes cobblestone when it comes into contact with these from the lava from the middle, and it forms it right above where the airstream is going to be running. So once we have these, again, I'm going to use glass and I'm going to put it all around the outside of these so that they do not spill water out. And again, like I said, it's looking like I'm running a little bit low on glass, so I'm going to go grab a bit extra and then come back so that we can finish setting this up. Okay, so I went through, I waterlogged all these stairs on both sides, and then I put some glass around them just so they're not spilling out any water onto the floor. I think that's pretty much all the glass that we need to use for the time being, so hopefully we had enough. But now that we have that done, I can go through and put down the lava. Like I said, you're not going to need all these buckets of lava. I think it looks nicer if you have full source blocks all the way down. But again, it doesn't need to be. Obviously, if we're to put it, let's say right here in the middle, we can watch as it forms cobble on both sides, goes out, and then forms more cobble. So again, you're probably fine with just like 2 of these if you space them out properly. But I think it looks way nicer if you don't have flowing lava. So I grabbed out all the buckets here and we can place this down. And then it's actually nice to do this right away because this cobblestone having formed here will make it way easier to place down all of our drills. So we can just collect all these buckets to open up some more inventory room. And I'm trying to make sure that I place it down in the proper areas. But we'll get this down and then we're just going to try really, really hard not to die to it, because that would be a shameful way to show out min-maxing in a create video, to die to a vanilla mechanic. But now that we have that, we know where the cobble is forming. So it's very easy to just place down our drills, and then we're just going to flip them so that they are actually facing down. And you know what? I'm just going to place all these down really quick right here, and then orient all of them properly. Well, I could at least try to. Clicked on that one wrong. There we go. Each one, give it 2 taps, and now it's facing down. If I had gone on top of these, I probably could have placed them down way easier, but let's see if we can do that over here. Nope, still doesn't want to do it. I never can understand why Create things orient the way they do. If we hold down Shift, does it orient properly if we're on the top? Yeah, it does. Okay, there we go. I was just screwing it up. I can never remember if it's actually Shift right-clicking it down, or if it's regular right-clicking it and Shift is reversing it to face me. But there we go. Now, we could definitely put down glass over the center right here. I probably should. I don't think that's going to affect anything, so we're probably good to do that. But now we're going to go and put down cogwheels on top of every single one of these, because the direction of rotation does not matter when it comes to mechanical drills. They just need to have some form of rotational power. So in this case, even though each one of these is going to reverse it for the subsequent cogwheel, that is totally fine. Now that we have this, we need to set up our encased fans, which are going to be going right on the back sides right here. So let's come down a little bit, and we should be able, you know what, I'm just going to build up again over here, because I have an area on the end of each of these where we can put down the encased fans, and then we are going to hook those up to the rotational power from above us. So we have 2 that are going to be going back here. So let's go up, probably like right here should be good. And we're going to be putting, I need to put down some dirt over here too, so that I can properly orient myself. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to have 1 encased fan going right here. So let's put that down, and then we just need to come over and rotate it so that it's pushing that direction or facing that direction. The rotational input will determine what way it's pushing, but let's do the same thing over here. So put one of these down, come to the side and rotate it so it's going in that direction. And obviously we want to make sure that it's one behind where the cobblestone is so that it's all falling in front of this. And then we can get rid of this dirt, and we can just put down a cogwheel on each of these. We can get back rid of this, put down another cogwheel here, and then we can come up to the side of this again, just get a better angle on it. And I believe we might need to adjust this. Oh, no, I wanted to come up. We might need to adjust this potentially due to the rotation coming in, but for now, we are going to do a large cogwheel right in here, and then we are going to be able to come down and supply right here with a, where is it? A vertical gearbox coming into this cogwheel here, like so, and then just bring down with shafts right here. Now, if this is going the wrong way, we can just add in another vertical gearbox so that it reverses the rotation. But either way, right here with this setup, because this cogwheel then reverses for each of these, both of the encased fans will be blowing in the same exact direction, which is exactly what we want. So now we have the entire cobblestone generator portion set up. The fans and the drills are all hooked up so that once we get rotational power up there, these will all be running properly. The thing is though, we need to actually hook the rest of this up to those, so the crushing wheels are also connected, and we are going to do that on this side right here, and we're actually only going to connect one of these crushing wheels, and then use the other side to actually transfer it to the other sets of them. So we are going to grab out our chain drives, and we are going to build up right here. We're gonna have to get rid of some of this glass, and we'll use the chain drives, our remaining cogwheel, and a vertical gearbox. And where are our scaffolds? Right here. So we're gonna wanna come up probably like right here should be good. And we are going to come over here with a vertical gearbox, put down a cogwheel to connect to these, and then we are going to get rid of this block right here. Should have thought that one through first. We'll put down our chain drive so that the water doesn't spill everywhere anymore. And then we're just going to come down here and put the chain drive so it comes all the way down. Now I will say in a lot of the cases where we use chain drives here, we could have also used belts and used shafts, but this is going to allow us to not use up a ton of extra rotational power or stress capacity from the rotational power, while still allowing us to transfer without reversing the rotation. And I also think it looks a little bit cleaner. I like to have the belts when we're actually transporting items on them. I think it looks a little bit weird at this point when you have a ton of belts running all over the place and there's no items actually running on them. So now we have the rotational power hooked up from the top, coming down into this crushing wheel. This one is connected to this, but we now need to get it over to this one. And the very simple way of doing this is using our 2 regular gearboxes, one on each of these, and then a shaft in the middle. So what's going to happen here is this rotational power is going to rotate this one. It's going to go clockwise. This one will then also rotate clockwise, transferring it to this. This gearbox will bring it over here. The rotation will get reversed. This one's going to now go clockwise from this direction while this one's going counterclockwise. And this one is then going to also go counterclockwise. So it's kind of weird because every time I spin around, it's clockwise versus counterclockwise is dependent on the direction I'm looking at it. But the idea is these are both going to rotate to the inside of the crushing wheels. Same with these. And now we've looped the power all the way around. And obviously our power is coming in down here. So we want to have this setup right here running at 256 RPM for the wheels and the drills. The fans down here will obviously have it changed because we are coming from a large cogwheel up there, but that's fine. We just need to make sure that these have enough speed to push all the items all the way down, which is more than enough even if we cut it in half. But now we need to use the rotation speed controller so that we can adjust the speed from the 32 all the way up to the 256. So we're going to put down the rotation speed controller, and I'm going to get some dirt here just to orient this a little bit better. We need the large cogwheel to be right here. So we're going to put that down, which means the rotation speed controller needs to go right here, and this needs to get scrolled up all the way to 256. There is the possibility that we need to reverse this to negative 256, but we're going to have to wait and see until we start this whole thing up if it's actually going in the correct direction. So now the last step is to make the washing and pressing portion of the setup, which is all going to happen basically at ground level down here. And so we're going to start clearing out an area right here. We are just going to dig down, and it's going to be the belt running right along the center here. And then we're going to have the water on each side of it, and then room for the encased fans. And we are going to start by making a nice area that is 5 long and 5 wide. So right here, we're going to have the belt running. It doesn't really matter if you start it below the chest or right in front of it. So we can just start it right in front of it with a shaft right here. And we're not actually going to hook up the system just yet because it needs to go a little bit further than where we have cleared out right now. But we can start setting up the fans in the water. So we're going to have 5 fans on this side, 5 fans on this side. And for those of you that do not know, if you are able to use more fans in more directions, you are able to wash or cook stuff faster than if you just had one. So you can have fans coming from every single direction on something like a depot, and it can be extremely fast. A lot of people think maybe increasing the speed increases the rate at which it's cooked. That's untrue. It's going to increase the distance at which the fan blows or pulls from, but having more fans with the same thing, in this case water, across one item is going to wash it faster. So in this case, we're going to have 5 different spots on the belt system that can be washed at any given time. It is, like I said earlier on, going to stop when it gets to the end and they haven't been washed fully yet, because there is going to be a slight delay as they get washed, but it's going to be pulling out full stacks from this chest as they get washed, hence the delay, so you will never actually end up with a backup in this chest right here. Once we have this, we're then going to have the basin going right above this right here, so the belt's still going to run under this, and then finally, we are going to have it stop right over here when it goes into a chest. So we're going to put the shaft down right here. We're going to rotate it. We're going to grab out our belt, connect this with this right over here, and then I can go fill in water on each side of this. So now we have the entire washing setup good to go, but we need to start hooking up the pressing setup and connecting all the rotational power so this stuff actually runs. So we're going to start out by running a bunch of encased chain drives behind each side of these encased fans. So we'll start over here, and we're going to do the encased chain drives all along this right here. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to do the same along this side right here. So we'll run them like this. But then right here, we are going to use one of the useful features of the encased chain drive with its ability to rotate 90 degrees and still accept rotational power. So we're going to have it right here. And we are then going to hook it up to this rotation speed controller up here using a vertical gearbox and some shafts. So grab out one of those, and now we can connect it. So that is how we get power from right here all the way up. And now we need to get power from right here. So it looks like I was actually a little bit off with how I connected this. I have it one too high. So let me rectify that real quick. Okay, so I brought it down just using some encased chain drives, but all we want to do now when we have the rotational power properly inputting down here is connect this encased chain drive right here, and you can see all of a sudden stuff starts running. So it's getting a little loud. I'm gonna have to edit this down in terms of volume, or you know what, we can actually disconnect this right here. Now, this was great proof that this is actually running properly because the fans are going in the right direction. I believe the crushing wheels are working. We can verify if we look up here. These do have a bit of cobblestone in them because these are gonna be running and they take, I think about groups of 16 at a time, but it looks like everything's running in the correct direction. I just don't want it running right yet. But we can see these fans are blowing properly. We need to get the power over to these fans and have somewhere to press items in though. So we're going to clear out these blocks right here, and then we are going to put down an extra shaft right here in the mechanical belt, and we're going to connect it just like this, nothing fancy. Now the belt is going in the correct direction. You need to make sure that it's going to be pulling the items along it this way, and then we're going to come over here, clear out these 3 blocks, put down a chain drive right here. We're going to put down a vertical gearbox right here, and then a shaft right here. So this is important because the vertical gearbox here allows us to both reverse the rotation, so these encased fans are also blowing, so both sides are blowing onto the mechanical belt, and also it allows for us to then take the rotational power up and put it into the mechanical press that'll be pressing for this basin right here. So we're going to get out our mechanical press, put it with this right here, and then we need to bring the rotational power up and then use a vertical gearbox. Yep, I already got one out right here. So now this is good to press. The direction does not matter for a mechanical press. All that matters is the speed, and 32 RPM should be more than enough to keep up with this setup. It is going to be a little bit of a backlog, but it's not going to cause a backlog over here. So that's all that matters. So if you wanted to run this a bit faster and gear it up, you can do that, but it's not required. And then obviously this is going to output with the little built-in chute right here. And then we just grab out a regular chest. We can put it right here, and we can put down our funnels to start collecting stuff. So I believe right here, we want our andesite funnel. And this is something that I touched on in an earlier video, but for those of you that don't know, you can have the output chute from a basin occupying the same block as an andesite funnel. It does not work if the belt is not moving. It'll make the chute disappear if you put down a funnel. But if the belt's moving, it pulls it back out. So you can have these on the same block to make it a little bit more compact. Then over here, we need to set up our brass funnel on this side that has a filter of iron nuggets. So there we go. We're going to want to put down iron nuggets right there. And then we're going to want to set up our brass funnel over here. And we're using a brass funnel simply because we'll be able to see the gravel that was in here getting pulled out and washed and go through the whole setup. But we're going to want to have a brass funnel because brass funnels allow you to pull out up to a full stack of items, whereas andesite do not. So we don't need a filter for this, but I want full stacks coming out when we have them. We now see the one last issue that needs to be dealt with though, which is the presence of flint that needs to be ditched. And so we are going to want to drop it with a smart chute on the bottom with a filter on it into something like lava. And it's occurring to me right now that I need to go actually get another bucket of lava. I calculated out I needed 10, but didn't think of the 11th because when I set it up, it was hidden underground. So I'm going to quickly go grab another bucket so that we have something to burn the flint in, and then I will be back. Okay, so now I have the bucket of lava. So we're just going to want to quickly come down, and it's a little bit annoying because we obviously have water up there, but we're going to want to get to this block right here. So directly below the area where the brass funnel is in the last portion of the belt system before the basin. And we're going to want to put down our smart chute. We're going to want to put our flint on that filter, and then we're going to want to put down our lava right there and make sure that we have something ready to block it in with so that we don't end up getting burned. And then we can come all the way back up and put down our polished andesite. And now any flint that's coming through the system that might stop it from running is going to get dumped down right there and then continue on its way with the iron nuggets going in. And then we're just going to want to make sure that nothing else got stuck in here that's going to hold up our belt system potentially. We'll be able to tell later if there is an issue, but we now have everything running over here, everything running in here, and I believe the system is pretty much good to go. We just need to hook up this last shaft and make sure that everything is going in the correct direction. So it's going to be a little bit loud, but you can see everything is getting blown across. I think it looks really, really cool. I actually like these more than belts because if you didn't know, belts can cause issues where you're going to have a maximum capacity of one set of items up to a stack per block, but if a single item falls on it, it's not going to be able to accept more. So this helps avoid that issue. There's no limit on it, but you can see how the system works. These are all getting washed and then they're going in, and you can see we are already producing a ton of iron. It's really quickly working through here, and it's really satisfying, honestly, to be able to watch this just making piece of iron after piece of iron. And honestly, it's just, I love this setup so much. You get crazy production rates with it. It admittedly is a little bit loud, but yeah, I think it's great. We already are having a couple pieces of iron in there. And so again, this is the setup. It's not crazy big. We don't even use up the entire, I believe it was 7 by 15 by 10 area. And so I will let you guys be the judge. Like I said, I'd love to hear in the comments if you do think that I managed to compete or even beat the regular vanilla iron farms with this create-based iron generator. And I would say, you know, I know that this thing can be pushed even more to the max. Obviously, you can have more crushing wheels, you can have higher cobble production, and all of that stuff. So you can make create setups that end up generating, they'll be larger than this, but they can generate thousands per hour. This one I thought was a healthy middle ground where you need to add more crushing wheels if you wanted any more cobble input. It's already running at max speed, so anything more than this and you're really going to be upping the stress requirements for it and all that. But I thought this did more than enough to compete with the vanilla iron farms. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know if you plan on using this too and what you're going to use all your iron for. And I will say that hopefully we will be back to normal in terms of video schedule from here on out, just because things are finally settling down. I know it's been about a week between each video for the last couple of weeks, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me. And I will also say that I am finally going to have a new microphone coming in. I know I got a new one a little bit ago, but the biggest issue with that was I have a lot of background noise in my room and echo, as you guys might be able to tell. And the microphone I have now is really good, except it is a microphone that picks up a lot of extra noise. So the audio quality is better than a different microphone that might not pick up as much noise, but it's an issue until I get to a room that doesn't have a lofted ceiling and better insulation. So for now, we'll have a new microphone coming in by the end of this week. So hopefully you guys will also notice an improved audio quality in the future videos. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you later.